September 2019. It feels like a distant dream. Life is normal. Students head to school as Londoners go about their busy days. A fresh cohort of Year 12 students at Newham Collegiate sixth form begin their A-level journeys, and like all of us, have never heard of COVID-19. Nor do they have a clue that they are about to have a unique A-level experience.
When I came on the open day, there was just such a nice welcoming environment. You really got a feel for what the NCS was about.
The teaching at the NCS, it seemed very interactive. Like the teachers, they were going back and forth with the students, and it was quite a relaxed atmosphere. It seemed like a very positive learning environment.
What really pushed me to join here was I wanted to be surrounded by like-minded people.
I knew that the school had lots of different work experience opportunities and links to some amazing universities like UCL, and I thought that this would be the best place for me to take advantage of those.
I was hoping that I'd be able to successfully apply to Oxbridge, and I felt like the NCS could take me there.
I knew that I wanted to do medicine from quite a young age. With NCS Medical School, I saw that they had a great amount of medicine offers, so I felt quite comfortable going to NCS and knowing that I would come out with quite a few offers and would be able to choose from where I wanted to go.
The first 5 months of NCS where we were in person, I found it really enjoyable.
The lessons were really fun and engaging. The teachers were really helpful, they were really open. We wouldn't just learn the curriculum, but we'd learn how the curriculum is sort of applied in real life.
And that really motivated me to learn, especially for subjects like chemistry, where at GCSE I didn't really enjoy it too much. Coming to the NCS and learning with the teachers here made me genuinely enjoy the subject, and it even led me to apply for a chemistry-based degree.
It felt like I was learning the subject, like learning the actual subject and not learning for just an exam.
It was very good in terms of being able to balance the educational aspect and the extracurricular aspects. There was many trips like theatre visits and stuff like that. So I remember I went to Take the Lead workshop where we went to, I think it was the Old Vic.
It was dedicated towards improving your employability and your CV and communication skills and just really important things which you will need later on.
There was a lot of workshops going to places like Barclays, interviews at places like Credit Suisse, which I think definitely helped to build some soft skills.
There was many law firm visits that we got to kind of see what it would be like to be in that sector and have a feel for whether that would be the correct route to kind of go into, or if you wanted to do something else.
I took part in the UCL Project X at the university alongside university students, where I had to create a piece of wearable technology as part of a team. And that really kind of helped me see how engineering was just physics applied into the real world.
Just a few months into their learning, NCS students began to hear about a new virus that was spreading in China that would soon change all of our lives.
Good evening. The city at the heart of a public health crisis in China is shutting its public transport network to try to prevent the spread of a virus that's already infected hundreds of people.
I first heard of COVID-19 back in December of 2019 when it was just in Wuhan.
Even though people said, oh, it has like the potential to become a pandemic, at the time I didn't really feel like it because it felt like it was so distant. Almost you couldn't relate to what was going on.
I just thought it was a relatively small thing. You know, I kind of looked at it through an economics perspective and how it led to a drop in steel prices at the time.
It has been confirmed that there are 2 cases now in England.
The first cases started arising in January.
And then we started getting letters in form time saying, okay, make sure you're washing your hands. I think everyone remembers kind of we have to sing happy birthday twice whilst washing our hands.
A month before the Prime Minister actually announced lockdown, there was already like contingency plans set in place.
Teachers were doing Teams preparation sessions, so they were all well versed in how to use Microsoft Teams. We were also given a session during our form time.
And we knew that if we were to go into lockdown, we'd have all our lessons online and it'd be the same timetable as a normal day.
The iPads were massively helpful with this.
And then on the 10th of March 2020, the first lockdown was announced, forcing all schools to close their doors.
The people of the United Kingdom are now being advised to make drastic changes to their day-to-day existence.
You must stay at home.
And I was just like, what's happening?
Panic at the fact that, oh, we can't go into school, we can't do everything that we were doing before.
For the first time in my life, I didn't really know what was to come.
On the very next day, NCS students had their learning moved online. Same teachers, same timetables.
I don't think I missed a single lesson when we went from in school to online. Literally from one day we were working in our classroom, the next day we were working in our bedrooms.
It was a very smooth transition, considering how big of a change it was.
It was literally as if we were in the classroom, but it was just, the only difference was it was just on a screen.
My question to you is, class, why would group 7 elements want to gain an electron?
To get a noble gas configuration to get 8 electrons in the ouch.
Very good answer.
We never stopped learning. Like, there wasn't a period by which we weren't doing anything, and I feel like that was a struggle with many other sixth forms.
It did sort of feel like we were in lockdown. It felt like we were still in school to some extent.
And continuing their live lessons gave our students a sense of normalcy in the strangest of times.
Having the timetable was really helpful. It really added structure in my life, especially throughout that whole lockdown period where the days were kind of blurring into one.
Having that kind of strict structure to stick to is really, really helpful to make sure that you don't get into a kind of rut of not doing much.
The tablets NCS provides also had uses outside of lessons. Students were free to use them for leisure time.
Because of the provision of these iPads, it meant that we could stay in touch not only with lessons, but any other extra resources.
There wasn't any restriction in terms of how we could use it to keep in contact with our peers and our friends. Having the iPad there was literally what kept me through that whole lockdown, because I could use it for school, but then I could also use it to de-stress after school.
Every week, the leadership team would send out an email with recommended activities to do to help you keep up with your mental and physical well-being, advice on exercise, things like that. Small things that you might forget, but the school helped remind you to keep you physically and mentally well.
Our head of year was absolutely fantastic. She sent us emails every single week on a different issue and kind of just made us aware that there was help out there if we needed it. Even the kind of email signatures, the teachers changed their email signatures to include all of the links to important hotlines that we might need in case of an emergency.
The teachers would also send us like online webinars and stuff which we could join from our iPads as well. So we were sort of networking with people that we probably wouldn't even have networked with while we were at school.
Opportunities switched towards Zoom meetings and Microsoft Teams meetings, which surprisingly was more helpful because it meant that I had more time to take part in more things. One of the main things that really helped was like Google Docs and things like that, where we just write out all our ideas onto a shared document. We could see what everybody else was writing, what we were writing, and how that would work together. And then the teacher would be able to see it at the same time as well. So I think that really helped bridge the gap between the personal interactions.
Get the little wing to move up and down.
I heard from like a lot of other places where you just get worksheets and stuff, but I was thankful that we had lessons and we had teachers there to support us.
When I look at some of my other friends' experiences at their schools and how they coped with COVID-19, I think that I was actually very lucky to come here.
When I compared my situation to my friends, I saw a lot of them were being set independent work, so the teacher would tell them by the end of the week, I want you to complete all this work, and they were falling behind because when you're at home it's a lot harder to keep on top of your work and in terms of your personal admin, whereas compared to my situation, I was having lessons every day from 8:30 to 1.
After several months of lessons at home, the restrictions lifted.
When we came back in the summer, it was very much like coming back for the first time again. Like when we first started in year 12, it was very much that kind of feel because we'd been out of school for so long and we'd got so used to sitting at home behind our desk doing our work.
We did have like a few days of catching up on anything like we kind of missed or didn't understand properly, but after that we just continued from where we left off on Teams.
We did have a couple lessons in the first week where the teachers would troubleshoot our learning.
And it was really good because then we had kind of a week of focused lessons after that where teachers could kind of target those specific topics that people didn't necessarily understand as well.
For a lot of the subjects, because we had just kept going throughout the lockdown at the same pace we would have in person, we're almost able to just pick up where we left off.
Once again, the shift was very seamless. Like the teachers were still teaching the way they'd always taught.
If you personally weren't sure or you had any issues, you were able to speak to your teacher, get any resources you need, and even things like intervention sessions, they meant that you were able to catch up on anything that you weren't sure about.
I did catch COVID back in December.
I caught COVID myself, and I also had to self-isolate for a small period of time.
I was asked to self-isolate by the NHS app.
There was points in the year where I was at home and the rest of my cohort were in school studying as normal.
Even when there were people in lesson learning, the teacher would set up a Teams meeting as well.
Yeah, they would always set up right on time at the beginning of the lesson, put up their laptop and have the camera so I could see the board, and they'd involve me and ask me questions as well.
Even though you were at home while everyone else was at school, you were still getting the same level of learning, which was really helpful.
I can confirm that GCSEs, A-levels and AS level exams will not go ahead this summer. This year we're going to put our trust in teachers rather than algorithms.
When we got that announcement that there would be no exams, I just remember bringing all my friends, and we were all so disheartened. We'd worked so hard, and we'd worked over even being in lockdown. We'd carried on having that kind of resilience and against everything that was being thrown our way, and I felt like it wouldn't really get to show what we were capable of.
I remember there was a whole big kind of kerfuffle last year over the A-level results day.
It made you quite nervous because you didn't know what was to come. At the end of the day, you still needed your A-level grades and to go to the university you wanted to go to.
I felt that what the school put in place was very fair, and I think it was the best thing they could have done. I was reassured by the school that we would be sitting some sort of exam so that our work wouldn't go to waste.
Our entire kind of time at school, we've been preparing to sit exams at the end of our time, rather than having all of our work kind of averaged out and used to cumulatively make a grade. So I think that kind of system of having a final exam was very reassuring because we knew exactly what we were working towards.
And I think that's the fairest way, because it means that if you put in the effort and you work hard, you'll be able to get the grades that you want.
The NCS to me is somewhere that I've progressed greatly, and it's something that has 100% built up my character development, and not just academically but personally, like that student-teacher bond that you create and them being so immersed into wanting to help you succeed individually. I feel like that has really, really shaped me as a person, and that's something that I'm going to take with me.
The NCS is something very special because it enabled me to achieve what I wanted to in terms of acquiring a Cambridge offer. I do feel that without the NCS I might not have got that offer because of the way they supported me throughout the process, gave me the resources, the opportunities to build my skills. So the NCS will always be really important to me as it allowed me to progress onto the things I wanted to.
To me, the NCS means pushing yourself outside of your boundaries and becoming a much more well-rounded individual.
Being at NCS has helped me learn more about myself and understand my strengths and my weaknesses, and work on my weaknesses as well.
There's definitely been an encouragement to work hard and kind of realise your kind of aims and goals, and it's been a very positive experience doing so.
The NCS is a place where people can find opportunities they weren't necessarily looking for and which they never even thought were available to them.
After all the disruptions, worry, fear, the day finally arrived to collect results and look back on the extraordinary 2 years.
So I've got an offer from Imperial to study medicine.
I have an offer to study natural sciences at Cambridge University.
I have an offer at Cambridge University for theology, religion and philosophy of religion.
I have an offer to study economics and history at Oxford University.
I have an offer to study economics and management at the University of Oxford.
I have an offer to study at Princeton University, and I have a scholarship which will cover the majority of the fees and my living costs when I'm there.
I do feel a lot more optimistic about the future.
Just in my time at the NCS, we've had many ups and downs with lockdown, with the fact that our A-levels have been not necessarily conventional. So I think from here onwards, I'm looking forward to kind of seeing my future further education and my career hopefully go up.
How I've been taught and how I've progressed within just these 2 years at this school, it's really set me up to be hopeful for the future, because I do have offers for university. I do have those stepping stones. I've acquired those over the past 2 years for a progression into the career that I want to go into, and hopefully COVID won't be affecting that.
I'm really grateful that we've been able to finish all of our A-level content, even though so many schools have not been able to.
I don't think I've lost out on my education in terms of COVID.
I haven't missed out because the way we learn at home was the same way we would learn in person. I was able to keep up, so I don't feel like I missed out on the academic side.
It hasn't been as big as it maybe could have been if we were at another school, and the support of the NCS has been great dealing with it.
If anything, I think lockdown really helped with attending like multiple webinars, going to so many different lectures, attending them, just listening to so many other people, which would have been really difficult being in person, just sort of running from like one venue to another venue. So in that sense, I think NCS really supported us and helped us not have any gaps in our education.
I definitely don't think that I've lost out coming to this school, despite what's been going on in the world, despite coronavirus, despite the difficulties of A-levels in general. I think being here has meant that I've been able to cope with the support of my teachers and my peers.
Despite everything they've had to deal with during a global pandemic, this is what NCS students have achieved.